On this episode of the Inspiration Station, I'm going to show you one area of your life where you can no longer blame the devil for being busy. This issue is not the devil, but this is your own mind that's holding you back. We're going to expose one of the biggest lies we've ever been told and talk about why we still believe in it on the next episode of the Inspiration Station, which starts right now. Welcome back to the All-Purpose Pod for an all-purpose life, wherever you are and however you're listening to They Call Me Mr. U and the Inspiration Station. Thanks again for making us part of your week. We're excited to be back with you guys. And this topic is something that we got to definitely get into. We ain't got time to mess around. We got to get into this right now. I told you at the outset that there's an area of our life where we have been blaming the devil for being busy, blaming the devil for attacking us and trying to make our lives miserable. And the issue in this particular area is not even with the devil. It's with our own minds, the way we think, what we believe. That is what's holding us back. That's a tough pill to swallow. I get it, but it's what's going on with us. And on top of that, we even believe another lie that if we change our environment and change our circle, that means moving to different geographical areas, changing our friendship base, finding different kinds of friends. It's enough to help us win. It's enough to help us be successful. That's also another big lie. I'm not saying moving away from troublesome or toxic situations is not a good thing for us. Of course it is. If you're in a place where, like Abraham was, his family was into idol worship. When he left his family, he went into a whole different place and away from the idol worship, and it changed the entire trajectory of his life. So I get that part. It's not what we're talking about. But when you take a certain mindset with you, even the places you're living is toxic. It is negative. It is unhealthy for you. When you take the same mindset you had there, that you function in, that was your normal, that was part of your daily process, the same mindset, it doesn't matter where you go, it's going to follow you. The same habits, same behaviors, and eventually the same outcomes are going to follow you. I share a story a lot of times on our podcast about the traveler. He went from one location where he lived for many years and ventured into a new area. And he happened to see a farmer along the way, tending to his field. He said, "That city over yonder, how are the people over there?" And his response was, "Well, how are the people where you come from?" And he said, "Well, they were very kind, loving, great neighbors. We took care of each other, had an outstanding community, et cetera, all these good things." And the farmer said, "Well, the people in that city are just like that." Another sojourner left his city, happened across the same farmer, asked the same question. "That city over there, what are the people like?" And the farmer asked the same question he asked the first sojourner. "How are people like where you come from?" And he said they were mean, they were nasty, rude to each other. They were steal from each other and didn't regard each other as human beings and mistreated one another. And the farmer said, people in that city are just like that. What's the moral of the story? The lowest common denominator, the common factor in all the situations that we deal with is us, how we respond to it, what we bring to the table, how we react. Are we agents of change, or do we assimilate into whatever situation is going on that we're crying out or complaining about? So many times, and I'm hoping this is resonate with somebody that's listening today. So many times we have complaints about our church. We have complaints about our community. We have complaints about somebody who's in authority over us in the workplace. We got complaints about this, complaints about our city, complaints about this and that. But we never ever stop to think, what's our part in all of this? What do we bring to the table? Did we repeat something that should have been repeated that would be considered gossip, that helped to make the environment as toxic as it was? Did we bring a bad attitude to the table and expected something better than that, but that's what we received? We bring something to the table here. I heard a quote, and I love this quote because it kind of speaks to the mindset that we have to change. We can blame the devil all day long, and the devil is who he is, and he does what he does. I'm not here to speak for the devil or try to advocate on his behalf. That's somebody else's job, not mine. But the one thing we can't do as a people is blame him for everything that goes on in our life and not take personal responsibility for what we do, what we contribute, what we bring to the table, what we bring to the dance that impacts us and generations after us, impacts our community, the work that we're trying to do in organizations, what we bring to the workplaces, the commerce of the economy of our city, everything. We play a part in all of these things. And if we don't recognize that, we'd be perpetually blaming somebody for everything that's going on that's wrong in our life. It ain't fair, it ain't right. And honestly, it's not even true. We play a part in the environment. You're talking about changing the environment. You can join an advocacy group all you want to, but at some point, there's something simple and mundane that you have to do to help change your environment. You are responsible for changing your circle. You're responsible for affecting your environment with positivity and encouragement and grace and unconditional love. That's your responsibility. That's not somebody else's job. That's your job. Every person has an individual job. Strong families make strong communities. Strong communities make strong cities and states. Strong cities and states make strong nations and makes a strong world. It starts with you. Always has, always will. Now, we're talking about the mindset that we bring to situations. And honestly, many of us are still walking around as if we are enslaved. It doesn't make any sense in my brain, but it's a real thing. There's a quote that's been attributed to Harriet Tubman. I'm not sure she has to said it or not, but the quote is fantastic. It says, she said, allegedly, she said, I freed thousands of slaves and could have freed thousands more if only they knew they were slaves. I'm going to say that again because you probably missed it. A quote attributed to Harriet Tubman, the leader and founder of the Underground Railroad. She said, I freed thousands of slaves and could have freed thousands more if only they knew they were slaves. So their mindset held them back from receiving freedom and liberty. It wasn't their environment. It wasn't what somebody was doing to them that was wrong and hurtful. It was their own mindset because they didn't recognize the actual situation they were in. So because they couldn't recognize it, you couldn't liberate them or extricate them from that situation because they didn't realize they were in something. I know so many folks, and I grew up around them back in my hometown of New York. I still see it now vicariously through social media, through hearing stories from old friends, and just art and entertainment and life, and seeing these same patterns play out over and over again. We know that slavery was an awful situation. We can try to forget history and try to cover it up. That's not going to work. But the reality is that we know it was a horrible situation. It was horrific. We know that God was not pleased with it. We know that slavery was evil. Watch any movie about the evils of slavery, and you're going to always find two villains. I know that might blow your mind, but trust me, you're going to find two villains in these kind of movies. Any movie about the evils of slavery, you're going to find two villains. The first one is the obvious one, the slave owners. They were the ones that were oppressive, holding people back, and any attempt to learn how to read or develop oneself was immediately halted because that was not good for their business. So the slave owners are the obvious villains. But there's the second villain too that we don't talk about. Excuse me. The second villain are the slaves that didn't know they were slaves. And we've seen it even on, I won't call a movie out, but there's a movie where someone who was a slave as well, but he had more standing than the other slaves. He undermined his own people just to keep his own standing, to make sure that his spot in the house was maintained and he didn't lose his position. But they were villainous because they not only hated their own brethren, they also equally hated themselves. And to me, if that's not villainous, I don't know what is. Because when you hate yourself or when you don't recognize the situation that you're in, it's so easy, it's almost instinctual for you to undermine people who are trying to accomplish something in life. How many times have you met somebody who, maybe even in your own family, who never did nothing with their life, never accomplished anything of note, weren't successful in any endeavor, always going back and forth trying to find get rich quick schemes or trying to do some kind of fast money venture. And as soon as you try to do something legitimate, you announce to the family, this is my plan, this is what I'm going to do. Guess who's talking? Who's speaking against you? Who's saying that can't work because so and so and so? That's a villain in your personal movie. They don't recognize where they are. Perhaps they don't like themselves. So now they don't like you because you wouldn't try to accomplish something. That's what we call in these days haters. They hate themselves and they also hate you, which is a really sad situation. Take away the plight in the cotton fields and physical chains and replace them with footwear, herringbones, diamond-crusted watches, fleet cars, and binge-watching programs. Is slavery just a different form of it? It was exchanged. Was it even eradicated? Was slavery even eradicated at all, really? One form of it was, but now we just replaced it with a different form. Now we got TV and clothes and status enslaving us. One form was abolished, the other still enslaved, just in a different way. If your mind is still bound, you can hit the lottery or walk into an inheritance of a sizable amount, and you're still going to mishandle it. You're going to mishandle what you have. Why? Because you are still bound here. You blow all the money, you lose the inheritance, you spend it all on things that are perishable, and you won't have any savings, you won't have any interest, you won't have any ventures that produce passive income. You lose it all because you're still bound and enslaved here. That's the story. That's what we're talking about. Drop in the comments what you think about this episode and the topic that we're talking about. Share your insights. I'd love to hear them. If you don't agree, love to hear that too. Please jump on our YouTube channel. Hit us up in the comment section and let us know what you think. Have a fantastic day. Tough topic, but had to be said.